Hello everyone, my name is Heaven and I started a YouTube channel about 3 months ago showing my life with this new job, graduating from college in May. So I just wanted to make a sit down video that's a little more organized, hopefully that's the intention, that shows life as an auditor and kind of what I think about it versus other routes you can take as an accountant coming out of college. And all of that knowledge is taken from my internships and what my friends are doing, what they chose to do after they graduated. So let's get started. I've got my notes here, so hopefully I don't ramble too much and get off topic. So this coming Monday is my big 3 months I'm surviving an adult job day. So I decided that's what inspired me to make this video. I will say I've only been on one audit, exactly 3 months long. So I'm getting transferred to a new audit starting Monday. So everything that I'm compiling experience-wise is from one audit. So a little bit about me before starting this job. I graduated from a small Christian university in Tennessee with my accounting degree and a Bible minor. So I did not, however, go through like a lot of accounting majors do and get their masters to get the 150 to sit for the CPA. I did not do that route. I didn't feel that a master's in accounting was necessary for my particular career goals. However, a lot of my friends went that route. If you have any questions, let me know. I have had 2 internships when I was in college. The first one was kind of happened on accident. Finance professor had talked to me after class asking if I was interested in starting an internship at any point, if I've thought about it, and I was like, no, I have no idea what I want to do. I've only taken 2 accounting classes. That was my first internship, was working internal accounting. Now that is very similar to people, if you hear about industry work in accounting, if someone goes to industry, that's typically what that will be. Means you're working internally in a company. So that's what I did with my internship. And I worked on minor tasks at the university to help them run. My main thing was the endowment that I worked on. So that was really cool, and I would highly recommend, especially in accounting, to get an internship. Really, if you have any opportunity at all for your major, get an internship. It is very, very important. You need that experience. Textbook knowledge means nothing if you can't physically know how to apply it. So you will learn that through an internship. So I worked for the university with that internship with the comptroller for 1 year and 9 months. So it was long, and I loved that job so much. I have nothing bad to say about it. It was absolutely fantastic. In fact, I had been interviewing with a similar university who was looking for an internal accountant, a staff accountant, and I was very close to jumping all over that before I got the job that I have now. I really enjoyed it. So a few pros and cons I would mention for industry work, or I'm basing it off of my internship. Most likely you're going to be working in an office setting like you would probably expect, and everyone you work with is who you're going to see day to day. Our office was just like family. We had birthday parties, we knew everything about each other, family, history, the hard parts, the joy parts. We were a family. It was fantastic. I loved it. Lots of investment poured into each other. With that kind of work, you'll also know what to expect. Probably the day before you go in the next day, you'll know what you're going to be working on. You know when the deadlines are for all of your stuff. And if you're working internally, you have quarterly reports you have to run, you have annual, and you have auditors coming in externally to check your work. So you know, like on an annual basis, it is repetitive on the long term. So every 3 months you're closing accounts, and every 6 months you're double checking that everything's good, halfway, semi-annual, and then after the end of the year, then you have your big audit and your reversing entries and all of that stuff. So it is year to year repetitive. So that's a pro or a con. There is no travel, obviously, unless you have like a conference or training elsewhere. If you work in industry, you won't have to travel all the time, which is the opposite of what I do. Your busy seasons are going to be at the end of each quarter, most likely, or the end of the year, which was in our case. We didn't do a lot of quarterly stuff. We did June 30th was our year end for the fiscal year at the university, you know, because the school year, August to May. The accountants themselves, they didn't work over 40 hours a lot of the time. And a university, it is smaller than if you work for a big company internally, and you will work over 40 hours during your busy season. But it is nice to know that if that's the hardest part of the year and you're still working reasonable hours, then you shouldn't have much to worry about for the rest of the year. The cons of what I would say about that type of work, industry work, or based on my internship, again, would be the limited client or customer service interaction, people interaction outside. You won't have a lot because you're working for your company, and you'll be talking above, like, your bosses and your boss's boss and all that stuff. So you'll definitely be talking vertically, but there's not a lot of clientele that you'll be dealing with. And that could be a pro for you. To me, I wanted to interact with people quite a bit too, and I wanted to get out of the office quite often. So those were cons in my opinion. It is repetitive work, like I said. I like change all the time, constant change. So that was a negative that I saw with this office. So that is all I have to say about that internship. I loved it so much. I'm probably rambling about it, but it was fantastic. I miss it a lot. I have visited that office multiple times since I left last December. It's been a year now since I've been gone. So on to my second internship. It was at a tax firm, CPA firm. It was a good experience, I'll say that. I do have some things to say about it. If you're thinking about going into public accounting, that is typically what people strive for as an accounting major. That's most likely what your professors are going to push you towards, you know, public accounting, public accounting, public accounting. It's like you grow as fast as you want. You can be a manager within 5 years. You obviously will make the most money quickly too. You can graduate and make way more than you can in any other route of accounting, but there are some trade-offs. I will say the things I loved about the accounting firm and public accounting itself was it is very active work. You are constantly busy. You have phone calls, you have emails, you're physically running around the firm, talking to people. Very active, that's the best way I can describe it. At least that was my opinion with the accounting firm that I was at. And I didn't do physical tax work, but I observed a lot. Personally showed me I am not meant to be in, I wouldn't say public accounting, I think that would be great as an auditor, but working on the tax side kind of shied me away from the idea. But also at a public accounting firm, you have potential for lots of client contact. When you're doing your tax returns, you're gonna have to be communicating with them about the information they give you, all of the work papers they give you, make sure everything's included. And then if anything changed, so you will be contacting them, phone call, email, in person, Skype, all of those outlets. Also in the off season, if you're a tax accountant or an auditor, they both have different busy seasons, but you're gonna be trying to market your firm and you're gonna be trying to spend time with the clients, and especially wealthy clients. That's obviously the goal in every business, is to grab the people with the deep pockets. So you'll go golfing with them, you'll go to restaurants, you'll go to happy hours. And so that would be a lot of fun, and that's a pro that I saw with the firm. So you will get to spend lots of time with the client, whereas in industry work, not much at all. Like I said, it does pay really well. That is the best. If you are looking for a pretty good paycheck in June when you graduate in May, then go straight to public accounting. It is awesome. Depending on how big the firms are, the big four, they start to recruit when early juniors in college. So like sophomores coming into their junior year, that is where they try to grab all of their people, starting internships, keep an eye on them. Also with public accounting, there is very quick growth. If you want to be promoted and you want to keep going, then public accounting is a fantastic way to do that. If that's what drives you, you will come in as a staff accountant straight from college. Within 2 years, you'll be a senior accountant. And then it depends when you get to be promoted to a manager. And that could be 5 years or so after that. It depends on your work ethic, your efficiency, and how much money you're bringing into the firm as well with your clients. But you could be a manager easily before you're 30. And that's really cool. So that's another thing to think about. The cons that I will say for this public accounting lifestyle would definitely be the extremely busy season. Definitely a sacrifice. You will be sacrificing your home life, gym time for all you gym buffs, homework time if you're like me and you're an intern in school. I didn't get much homework done at all, or sleep. You have to give up your hobbies for a couple months, your friends, your social life, but it is very rewarding. Like I said, all those pros before, you just have to weigh it out for yourself and see what is most important to you. I don't want to talk you against that either. It's just dependent on you. And that's 4 months. Like my internship, January, February, March, April, that's 4 months that I had to give up for that internship. And I didn't work in the off season, so I didn't get to see how laid back it was. But I'm sure that it'd be super casual for the rest of the year. And it's like, you can totally sacrifice that. So it's not really that bad, but it is something to consider. You don't want to be surprised going into it. The tax code changes daily. So if you're wanting to get into tax and you want to master it, that's going to be an evolving door. That is going to be constantly studying, constant training sessions. You're going to be online all the time. You're going to be reading the journals, the newspapers. Obviously, if you guys have heard in the news, the tax code just changed. It's changing again. So it is something constantly changing. And your reputation, especially to your client, how imperative it is that you learn the tax code and you know what to do and how to give them tax breaks is very important. That's why they pay you the big bucks to figure out their taxes. Otherwise, they would do it themselves. And the accountability that you have, and that's, I'm going to speak about the CPA here in a second, but the clients rely on you, and it's a big responsibility. And the clients they give you money. They're like, hey, do my tax returns. And it's like, if you screw that up, that's that's them and the IRS, but your firm also could be sued for that. Like, you can't screw stuff up. It is a lot of important information, but that's why school is so difficult, and that's why the CPA license is so important. Really quickly about the CPA, 4-part exam, couple $1,000, takes about a year to take. Some people can cram it in 4 months, some people take 18 months. You have to finish all 4 parts in 18 months, but that exam is so crucial for public accounting. You cannot get a job in public accounting without a verbal guarantee that you plan on sitting for that exam. It is very hard to pass. The pass rate is between 42 and about 54%. And different firms do it different ways. There will be a bonus at the end. Let's say they give you $5,000 for passing it, and it's like, woo, 5,000 bucks. Some firms, you have to be a CPA before you even get a job. Straight from college, they tell you to take that exam in the summer and they'll hire you in September. So you have to have your crap together, you have to put things aside. It is very important that you get that license, because then you're a licensed, certified public accountant, and that means the world. Ignore the perception that the introverts are tax accountants and the extroverts are auditors. That's not the case. It depends on what you personally like. Which class did you relate most with in school? Like, which textbook was easier to read? So all of that brings me to where I am right now. So where do I work? I work for the government. So I didn't choose either one of my internship routes. I didn't do industry work, internal accounting, and I didn't do public accounting. I liked them both for different reasons. That internship that I had at the tax firm, they also do auditing, so I could have been an auditor there, and that was my initial plan after the internship. I just knew I didn't want to do taxes, so I wanted to be hired on as an auditor, and I probably would have really enjoyed that. But this job that I have now is fantastic, and it's perfect for me personally, and I'm going to tell you guys why and what I think about it right now. We're finally now to the whole point of the video. I rambled so much. So again, I'm 3 months into my new job as a state auditor, and I'm done with my very first audit. So, woo! It took 3 months. It is a very long process from start to end, and it happens every year. For the government sector. Public accounting, they'll be in and out in 2 weeks or maybe a month at the longest, but then they're doing most of their audit work at the office. So they collect all their documents and all their information and all the internal control procedures, and then they head to the office and do the work. We stay at the auditee site. So was the job how I expected before I started? The work itself was very much how I expected. The auditing concept of what auditing is was directly from my textbook. However, I didn't expect the audits to last so long. But it's not that bad. It's really not. I became familiar with the site that I was at. I knew where everything was. I knew the back roads of the city. I knew where to go, where not to go. I was in Memphis, so I had to be very careful in some areas. But I learned the traffic patterns. I learned the good grocery stores, the bad grocery stores, the ones that had my food, the ones that didn't. And so that's anything that a typical person would know about their hometown or where they work. And so that's, it's the same thing. It just takes time to start learning your surroundings. So what does an auditor physically do? Good question. I ask these questions. So it depends on the sector that you work in, and like I said before, you've got government, you've got industry, you've got public accounting. They all do different types of work, but auditing, the whole purpose of it is to write an opinion on the reliability of the financial statements of the company, or in my case, the government-funded institutions. So you take the revenues, you take the expenses, you take the payroll, you take literally every single thing with a dollar sign on it from the company or the institution or whatever it is, and make sure that they're accurate. You make sure that the procedures to get to that number were correct. You will also test the internal controls. Now, public accounting, they write a separate opinion just on internal controls. That was passed with the Sarbanes-Oxley way back in 2002. So that's a big deal for them. But for us, it's not huge. It's just we make sure that their internal controls are sufficient enough. So you'll be testing passwords, you'll be testing door locks, you'll be testing how their assets are locked down. Let's say they have a case of jewelry. What's the security to get into that? Can anybody that works there get into the jewelry box? Is it just one person, the manager? How many keys are made? Where are the keys stored? All of that stuff is internal controls. Segregated duties between staff is very important. The bigger the company, the better that is typically, as it should be, because you can't have the same person writing the check, cashing the check. That's not okay. Two different people. The whole step of the check, all the way to reconciling the statements, should be different people along the whole way. So you have to make sure that it is different people. Ghost employees are a big thing with bigger institutions, bigger companies. Make sure that everyone on the payroll is legit. That's another thing that we do. And basically the whole point of it is to make sure that there's no obvious embezzlement, fraud, improper procedures in place, and that the institution or company is financially sound and they are a responsible organization. So for me, I'm helping ensure the taxpayers that what their tax money is going to is a good institution, that they are able to handle the money that they are given. With a public company, you have investors, you have people spending thousands on stocks. So you want to make sure that that company is using that money well and that they're staying up with the technology standards, that they're being smart with the money, that they're hiring from outside, not always internally. All of those things are very important, and that's the whole purpose of an auditor. I am never in the office. I will be if there's really bad weather. If I can't make it to my audit site, then I'll go to the office and do work if I can make it to the office. But all the training is at the office, all of the meetings. We Skyped in a lot. Sorry, I keep burping. We had lots of Skype meetings, which is really cool, so we don't actually have to physically go to the office just to hear like an hour-long thing. So we Skyped in. Thank goodness for technology. You're traveling as an auditor or as any job, you travel with your equipment. You're taking everything that you would normally have at a desk in your office with you. So like for me, I literally take my laptop, my dual monitor, my keyboard, my mouse, my docking station, my printer, my scanner, which I don't have, but my in-charge has, and calculators, all that stuff, my work bag, my purse, everything comes with me. So every time I go to a new audit. And calculators, plural, you will have multiple as an accountant. Also, you're going to be working in some weird conditions. And what I mean by that is, it's whatever room the auditee has for you guys to be in. So the bigger the company, the more they probably have a spare room that you can jump into, or a conference room a lot of times, like with public clients. You'll be in a conference room, it'll be great, sometimes with a great view even. But also, in my case, you can be in a filing room where you're shoulder to shoulder with your coworker. And there may be several of you, so that could be unfortunate. One of my coworkers was telling me about an audit that he was on where they had no air conditioning and it was 80 degrees in the room. And that's what they worked in for 10 hours a day. It's just part of it. You're wherever they can give you room. Sometimes good, sometimes bad. So do you have to dress differently as a travel auditor? Travel job in general. If you've seen any of my vlogs, which you should totally subscribe by the way if you haven't already, I just like to be comfortable and I definitely look presentable. I don't think I've ever looked like struggling real bad, but if I was to work in the office, I would have to be put together all the time, especially for us representing the government. That's very important, which we still are at the audit site, but it's very important that you dress smart. If you know you have a meeting that day, if you know you have to speak with the client, with the staff, you should probably dress well and represent your company or your institution in a good manner, because the credibility that you have the power to sit there and tell them they can't get any more government funds, so you shouldn't be looking real sloppy, you know? So have your stuff together. Like most of the audit sites, they're going to put you in the accounting department with them, so you're going to see them every single day whether you're in contact with them or not. So that's another thing to consider as well. Okay, so let's get to my personal opinions, as if that wasn't all opinionated that I just talked about, but this is more of my opinions about the 3 months as a travel auditor. So I will say traveling is so much fun. That was my number one priority looking at a job. I wanted to travel. No matter where I'm going, I don't care. I want to go, I want to be in a hotel, I want to travel. So I love it, and I was at the audit site in Memphis this past 3 months, and I live in Nashville, so it's a 3.5 hour drive. And I enjoy those drives to Memphis. So driving, that's time on the clock. So that was 7 hours a week that I wasn't physically using a calculator. I was in the driver's seat. You know, sometimes I didn't feel like driving. I'd wake up and be like, I don't want to drive for 3.5 hours. But I was thankful for it when I did, because I got to think the whole time or listen to music, and you don't have to physically sit there and focus, you know. My next audit, by the way, is a local audit here in Nashville. So that's going to be the whole other side. I'm not going to get hotels and everything expensed. So I'm going to let you guys know how I feel about that. You'll see it in my next coming vlogs. But traveling every week can also be difficult, and that's something that a lot of people don't like. If they're offered a travel job, they'll say no, they don't want it for whatever reason. It's crazy, I know. But if you have a spouse and you're married, you don't get to come home to them every day, you know? You don't get to play with your dogs or your little infant that you guys just had 2 years ago. You don't get to have that family time. You can't cook dinner in your kitchen if you're a big person and you like food. If you like cooking and you like preparing meals for your family, you don't get to do that anymore. Unless your hotel has a kitchen, you're not gonna be cooking much. You're gonna rely on phone calls. I talk on the phone every single day with my friends and family, and it definitely keeps me company. Basically, living in a hotel is also another aspect of a travel job. If you don't like hotels and you're weirded out by the sheets, you know, being used by someone else, then maybe that's something you might want to avoid. You can always bring your own sheets or bring shower shoes or bleach everything before you move into the hotel, but it is something that you're going to be doing all the time if you're always on the road. I love hotels, I could live in them. So the social life, that's a question that a lot of people are like, how do you do it? It is limited. It is going to be limited if you're on the road with whatever career that you have. If you're not home every single night, it's going to be hard for you to make friends, to keep friends, and to stay in contact with everybody. You will definitely be making more sacrifices than you did before for the friendships that you do have. I have a circle of friends that I talk to every single day. The past 3 months, we've all visited each other at some point, taking advantage of 3-day weekends, making long drives. Like one of my friends moved to Jacksonville, Florida, so he drove up to come see us. It's like a 7.5-hour drive there and then back, and you have to make sure you have enough time on a weekend for that. Really thankful that they are willing to be just as intentional as I am on keeping our friendship. The expensive weekends, the long drives, the inconvenient phone calls on either side. Those things are things I'm very thankful for. I don't want to take for granted. I don't know what I would do without them. The same goes for the dating life. My coworker, I'm going to talk about him a couple times in here. He's on several dating sites, and it's just hard for him. If things work out, it's hard for him to see them again besides on the weekends. Like whenever you're trying to date, it's only going to be on the weekends. And it's going to take lots of trust and loyalty as well. If things are working out and you're officially dating somebody and you can only see them 2 days a week, I mean, what's the chances that they're going to get kind of bored of it and find someone that's available 5 days a week, 7 days a week that, you know, is more convenient? It takes mature and patient people to handle people like us traveling all the time. It would be very hard on the other side for someone to be home every single day when their spouse, their partner, their best friend is traveling all the time and they're there by themselves. It's gonna take patience, phone calls, FaceTime, Skype, whatever you guys have to keep the connection together. Make the weekends super fun, make it memorable, spend lots of time together when you can. Relying on them telling the truth on the phone, so that's another thing. If you're a bit insecure and paranoid typically as a person, and be honest to yourself too, then you're gonna have to think twice before taking a job. Also, I did not expect to spend so much time with my coworkers. I shouldn't put that at the beginning of the video, because that is like number one. We were in a room together on this past audit. We were in the same room for 10 hours a day, and we went to lunch every day together for the most part. There were times that I didn't feel like it, because I needed alone time, you feel? But it is a lot of time. That is like 40 hours a week you're spending with these people. So there are going to be arguments and frustration over nothing. I literally argued with these guys for no reason. I was just tired of talking to them, and then I'd apologize later and they did the same thing to me. But for me, I'm someone that needs to get up and walk around. I can't sit at a desk at a computer all day long. I get so bored mentally and I start distracted. I'm daydreaming. So I get up and I go on a walk about every hour. I go to the bathroom, I go to the vending machine. I just need to get up and stretch and get away from the coworkers and just take a deep breath of fresh air. So that's completely normal, I think. I'd like to think so, at least. So overall, the thoughts on my new job, I would just sum it up as I absolutely love it. I did not foresee myself in government work. I forgot to mention that. So in accounting class, in Advanced Accounting 3, we did a little sector on government accounting. It was 2 chapters long. I remember it vividly because I hated it. I hated government accounting. It was horrible. It made no sense at all of these different funds. We did not do that in financial reporting, okay? It made no sense to me. Here I am, I'm in government accounting. So far, we haven't done anything from the textbook, but if I was to get placed on the CAFR, the Comprehensive Annual Financial Report that the state reports to the federal government at the end of every year on New Year's Eve, then I would have definitely had to use everything I learned in school on that report, on making sure that everything's accurate, we're pulling the right numbers. So far I haven't had to use things from school. I am using my auditing work, but I haven't had to use government accounting. Thank God, because I hated it. Let me tell you, worst part of accounting altogether. But I love my job. I'm only 3 months in and I have learned so much. Every day is a new lesson with this job. I'm sure it will continue. I'm just trying to absorb all this information like a sponge. I can't wait to see where this career takes me. My first thing on my to-do list is to get my CPA license. I briefly mentioned that before. I'm gonna start that next month, so y'all pray for me. It's gonna be horrible. I'm not looking forward to studying. It's recommended that you study at least 150 hours per exam, so it's okay, we'll get through it. So I hope that this video helped any of you that are on the deciding route, the fork in the road that goes all these different directions of accounting. You can do anything with accounting business-wise, in my opinion. You can not do accounting if you want, but having an accounting degree is going to set you above and beyond any of the business majors. So, you know, if you don't like accounting that much, if you went through all the way through school and you're like, this stuff kind of sucks, but I've just stuck with it, then that's totally fine. You can open up your own business. You can start doing stuff for a church. You can just be a financial advisor. Not just, that's a very good role and you need a certification for it. But you can be a financial advisor. You know, you're not limited to accounting. But accounting itself has so many different facets that you can get into. So if you guys like this video, subscribe to my channel because I do weekly videos of work and talk about auditing and traveling and all the struggles that come along with it. And I just crack myself up. I literally laugh at everything that goes wrong. So if you guys want to watch that, subscribe to Heaven's Oddventure. I'll put a little how you spell everything here because it is Oddventure, not adventure. That's the whole point of it. So hopefully someone out there laughed. Heaven's Oddventure, haha, creative. So I guess I'm gonna leave you guys with that. Thank you so much for watching and I truly hope that it helped and I'll see you guys next time.